Miss Hall, I just wanted to make a quick Illustrator tutorial in case you're feeling like you're not really sure where to get started or you're not sure how to accomplish exactly what you'd like. You guys can feel free to check out any other tutorials on YouTube. There are a ton. So if you have a specific idea in mind for your particular project, then feel free to do some research and figure it out, But I'm obviously always here to help you. So here's just a quick basics on Illustrator. So in case you're not sure where it is on your computer, in our case, it is in this applications folder. It looks just like this. It's this gold folder with the AI on it. And if you open it up, it looks like this. And I know what you're thinking, or maybe you're not, but a lot of people say, Miss Hull, what's wrong with it? I can't see, there's no screen. What am I supposed to do? This is perfectly fine. This is exactly what it's supposed to look like. What you need to do is click File and New. And that will then give you the option to create a board to work on. So here's where you can label your project, whatever you'd like to call it. And this is majorly important. So in Illustrator, what happens is most of the time the default units is points. Points are teeny tiny pixels. And if you leave it in points, what will happen is your document will be super small, like the size of a postage stamp. So you want to double check that you change this to inches. It's extremely important. And over here is where you can change what size you'd like your document to be. We'll make it 8 by 10 just to keep things simple. So what you have here is you've got your blank document to work with, and you have all the possibilities at your fingertips. So let's talk about some of the basic things that you can do in Illustrator. So first things first, over here are your tools. A lot of them are very similar to Photoshop. Some of them are a little bit complicated, but don't worry about those. Focus on these that we know really well. This black mouse is your major selection tool, so that will allow you to select large areas at a time. This white mouse is your minor selection tool. So what that means is it allows you to select just one small section at a time. This magic wand tool, if you click on this, it will help you select a whole area. This is our pen tool, which we use in Photoshop, but let me just give you a quick rundown on how this works. So with my pen tool, I'm going to come down here and take a look. These two squares show me what colors I'm using. So if I choose a color in here, on this front square, that's my fill color. And this color here is my stroke or outline color. So let me show you what that looks like. With my pen tool, I'm going to click and drop an anchor point. I'll then move over, click, and I'm going to not let go of my mouse and drag. And what happens is that line curves, and you'll see when I let go, that section is then filled in with that fill color and stroke color that I chose. If I want to get rid of this suggested path from Illustrator, I just click on that anchor point that I dropped and it will go away. So I'll just keep clicking my way around, just making a random shape, sort of like a weird lumpy circle, and I will let that go. If I decide that I'd rather change that fill color, I can easily change that. That's no problem. Or if I decide that I would like to not have a fill color, I would then just choose this little slash right here, which will then take it away. So let's go back to these selection tools that I talked about. So your mouse, your major selection tool, will allow you to move the entire path, or if you hold down Shift, allow you to change the size. Whereas if you choose this white selection tool, it will allow you to change particular anchor points so that you can then move things around and make the shape exactly what you want it to be. So this is sort of a strange, lumpy circle at this point, but that's all right. So let's talk a little bit, now that we've talked about those tools, let's talk about the text tool here, because you've got a lot of really cool options in Illustrator. You'll notice when you click on the text tool that there's all of these options for you. One of the cool ones is that you can type on a path. So I just made this path with my pen tool, and if I click on that path, I can then type all the way around the path. Remember, if you type Command A on your keyboard, you can then highlight everything. And up here is where you'll change all of your text information. So I'll change my font, I'll change it to something fun. I'll change my size, I can highlight that and make it whatever I want. Right here I can change the fill color, so maybe I want my text to be pink. Or another cool thing that you can do is, again, I'm going to hit Command A. You can have your text have no fill in it and give it a stroke. So maybe I'll give it a stroke that's pink. See how that changes? Another cool thing about Illustrator is that you can have multiple text layers happening all at one time. So down here I'm going to click and I'll just type something else. And what's really cool is then if I go back and I get my selection tool, that I can just really easily move these things around. I can change the size of it. Really cool. Lots of fun stuff. So the other thing that we can talk about, if we keep working our way down, you've got our line segment tool here. There's a lot of cool options in here, but if you want to just draw a simple line, I'll just click and drag. And you'll notice that when the line is completely lined up, that means that it is 90 degrees, completely horizontal. And up here you can change if you want it to have a line to it, if you want how thick you'd like it to be, totally up to you. So there's one more thing to think about. So now that we have some things populating our screen, what we might want to start thinking about are these layers, just like in Photoshop. Currently, everything is all on the same layer, which is not really the wisest way to go about things, because you'll notice that as you move your mouse around in Illustrator, everything sort of automatically highlights. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add a background color to this. So to do that, I'm going to choose my new layer option, which looks like a little post-it note. I'll drag this layer beneath my layer that has all my words on it. And on this layer, I'm just going to come over here and talk about this next tool, which is our shape tool. And in here, you've got lots of different options. I'm going to choose a rectangle because what I'd like to do is I'd like to click and drag a rectangle the size of my document. And now over here, we'll remember that if I want to fill color, I will choose that right here. Choose something nice and bright. So now I've got a background, and I can always go back in and change that to something else if I would prefer that. Now, something you want to think about is when I go to move this stuff around, it's very likely that I could accidentally, move that rectangle around, and I want that to stay in place. So in order to keep that rectangle, that background color in place, I'm going to lock that layer. And now it is stuck there until I then go back and unlock it. You can also, just like in Photoshop, close that eye and open that eye. So let's talk about a few more things that you can do in here. While we're still looking at this layers section, you can also click on Artboards. And here, if you click the new little post-it, it will give you a whole nother artboard that you can then continue to work with. You could also, if you wanted to, say you really liked how this artboard is looking, but you wanted to see what it looked like in a different color and have them side by side, you could just choose Duplicate Artboards. Now this one didn't move it over because I had this layer locked, but that's all right. Let's see what this looks like with a different color background. So I'll make a new layer. I will take my rectangle tool, click and drag, and maybe I'll choose a different color. This way I can compare them side by side and see which one I like better. So those are just a few basic things that you can do in Illustrator. I hope that this helped you sort of sort things out.